that that's actually not what the test was doing. The test was taking this input code, running it through the transform, and then checking to see if the code hadn't changed. It hadn't been transformed. Because this particular scenario was one where it should have been doing the transform, but it wasn't, and they didn't really know why. And they left the test in there, but rather than have the test do the right thing and check to see if the code had been changed, it was just like, yeah, I want to see that nothing has changed.
So because it changed, it just failed.
Well, I did my changes, which did not touch like any of that stuff at all. Suddenly the test starts failing, so I look and I realize that now the transform is activating during that test, and it is transforming the code, and it's correct. Like, it's doing the thing that test should have been doing all along and never was, and we don't know why this happened. Like, we don't know why the changes that I made have led to this, but it did, and it's a good thing. But now I'm tasked with figuring out how the hell that happened.
So when you say they,
how can you go backwards? Like, how can you figure out like what you changed that would?
Well, it's like I have to run the test and then just stop at like every line of code. And I'm doing this with two different versions of the code, one before my changes and one after. So I'm trying to find where their behavior diverges. Because they should, in theory, be doing the same thing the whole time. But clearly that's not happening. So there's got to be some point where my version veers off and does its own thing. And I haven't been able to track that point yet.
So who are the people on the other end that are like looking at this?
Well, I told Akshatha, my mentor, about it today, and the manager of the team.
Yeah.
And she asked for the name of the test and then the transformed code that was now being produced following my changes. And I sent it to her and she's like, oh yeah, that looks right. That looks like what it should have been doing all along. She's like, I can't believe that your changes did this. And I'm like, I can't either. I didn't really.
It was not my intention to fix it, but
so
I'm glad I did.
Do we know yet what this reveals?
Not yet. I think whatever it is will be pretty interesting. Like the fact that my changes had this side effect, this positive side effect. It could be indicative that there was a bug, like a quiet bug in the previous code that was, inadvertently fixed by what I did. But again, like I didn't change the functionality of anything. I just changed the way that we handled memory. So it's a head scratcher, but I think I'm going to involve Akshatha tomorrow and debug with her. I've narrowed it down significantly, but I've been at it for like 6 hours and I still don't know where this is happening because the code is so complicated. It's just really tough to step through it like that. So I think that with the narrowing down I've already done and with her intimate knowledge of this code because she wrote it, I think that we'll be able to figure it out. But
it's so funny that stuff can be so veiled, so cloaked. Like I would think that code would be written in a way where it would be obvious, because I'm thinking about it like somebody that has never dealt with this. But
well, it's not that it's like not obvious. It's just that any system of this level of complexity, like, just really can't be obvious. It's like this system is comprised of like 60 or 70 files, which is the right thing to do, to break it up that way.
Yeah.
It's much better than having one massive file.
Right.
But that also means that, you're constantly jumping from one place to the other when the code is executing. Like it starts in this file, but then it goes to this one, and then this one, and then that one, and you need to follow it It's just the nature of it. It's the way it works. So, I mean, that's why this job is hard, because you need to be able to do that, and you know, it can be very frustrating, and
It's got to be so rewarding, though.
man, when you figure it out, it's like crack. But you often go through days or weeks or months of torture, you know.
I'm sure the self-doubt and like I'll never figure this out. I'll
Yeah, I felt that way when I was developing this change, because I was just changing so many things. But even though I haven't found the root cause of this behavior change yet, this is really good news, because it means that my changes are fully functional and they have done nothing but improve the code. And improve it in ways beyond what we were thinking. Like, we didn't think that the improvement would be very noticeable. We thought that it would just improve like developer ergonomics within this section of the code.
So that's what you originally set out to do.
Yeah, because like we didn't want to build on top of this bad practice.
Yeah.
So it was like remove the bad practice and then, you know, but yeah, we didn't think that it would actually lead to behavioral changes like this, or like it seems like there were a couple memory leaks in this code originally that people were unaware of that are now gone.
Well, this is interesting because it appears that what you did actually brought out a problem in a unit test. And unit tests are designed to bring out a problem in code.
Yeah, tests aren't perfect, but it's this, like, they knew that this test wasn't.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, it's not that the test was flawed. Like, they had the test behaving the way that it was because the code was not catching this edge case. It's like the code was being too conservative. It's saying like, I should be invoking this transform right now, but for whatever reason, I feel like I don't have enough information to, so I won't. Because in this type of setting, you always have to be more conservative than less. Because it's like, if you choose to not do the thing, then the resulting program might be a little bit slower, which is fine. But if you choose to do the thing when you shouldn't, then you just broke the program.
I see.
So you cannot do that.
Okay.
So in this case, the code wasn't invoking the transform when it should have been, and they just, I guess, didn't have the time to figure out why. So they wrote the unit test and then realized, like, oh no, like the code isn't doing the thing. And it's like, like we probably just don't have the resources to make it catch this edge case right now. So we'll leave the test in because it's a good test. It's just that rather than, like, I establish my input, and rather than also establishing an expected output, I'm just going to check to see that the output is the same as the input, meaning nothing has changed.
Right.
So,
Are these clean?
I don't think